Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fascinating based on sources you shared. It kicked off with a question Bill Gorman asked Grok, and what came back was this synthesis of cosmology and metaphysics, the core idea that maybe our whole universe is inside a black hole. And then, even wilder, applying that same idea to us individually, like a black hole in each one of us.
Exactly, and that's our mission today, right? To unpack that whole synthesis, we'll look at how this black hole model could work for the universe, the macro scale, and then it might apply to the micro, to our own consciousness, and what that could possibly mean for reality, how we see it, how we connect.
Okay, let's start big then. Really big. Our entire universe, just one giant black hole. I mean, it sounds completely sci-fi, but you're saying there's actual theoretical physics behind it.
Well, behind it might be strong. It's definitely a speculative idea in cosmology, sometimes called the universe as a black hole theory. It comes from certain mathematical similarities that are quite striking. Think about the Schwarzschild radius. That's the point of no return around a black hole, its event horizon.
Right, where gravity is too strong for anything to escape.
Exactly. So this theory compares that radius, that event horizon boundary, to some models of our universe's overall shape and geometry.
So the edge of what we can see in the universe, that's kind of like the event horizon in this analogy. We can't see past it, can't get info from beyond it, just like you can't see out of a black hole.
That's the core of the analogy, yes.
Yeah.
Just like the event horizon traps everything inside the black hole, we're sort of limited by our observable horizon. Some physicists, like Nikodem Papiavsky, have pushed this. They suggest our universe might actually be the inside of a black hole in some, bigger parent universe.
Oh.
Yeah, so matter and light are trapped in here with us, but maybe there are connections outwards, like quantum effects or something gravitational. It's all deep in general relativity quantum mechanics territory. The expansion of our universe, for instance, might look something like the dynamics inside a black hole near the singularity or the horizon.
But this isn't standard stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely not. Let's be clear, this is far from mainstream scientific agreement. There's no direct evidence, zero. But mathematically, it's intriguing. It does fit with some interpretations of things like cosmic inflation and, black hole physics itself.
Okay, mine officially bending on the cosmic scale. Now, the sources, they take this massive idea and zoom right in. To us, how do we even make that leap from the whole universe to, my individual consciousness being a black hole?
Right, this is where we jump from physics into metaphysics. And it's quite a compelling analogy the sources built. The idea presented is that each person's consciousness is like a black hole. It has its own sort of event horizon, a barrier. And this barrier, in the analogy, is what separates your personal, subjective universe of experience
from some bigger universal consciousness, like a spirit or something.
Exactly, from a universal spirit consciousness. It's a framework, really, to think about some deep spiritual ideas.
Okay, let's focus on that event horizon for consciousness. In a real black hole, it's absolute. Nothing gets out. How does that translate to our minds? What's the barrier?
Well, physically, the event horizon stops light, stops information escaping. So applied to consciousness, this barrier is the line between your own subjective world, your thoughts, your feelings, everything you experience, and that greater universal awareness. The idea is you can't just, directly perceive or access that universal consciousness from within your individual perspective.
Like being inside the black hole, you can't see what's outside.
Precisely. Yeah. And for you listening, think about it. Maybe this helps explain why those really profound spiritual moments can feel impossible to describe, ineffable, or why enlightenment is often talked about as transcending the self, like going beyond that personal boundary.
Or maybe just getting a peek beyond it somehow.
Perhaps. But the analogy isn't just about separation. That's key. It also hints at connection. In physics, again, highly speculative, but people theorize black holes might connect. Wormholes, maybe.
Yeah.
Quantum entanglement.
Okay.
So using that idea, maybe each person's consciousness black hole isn't totally isolated. Maybe they're linked to each other and back to that supreme consciousness. Perhaps at some really deep level, like a shared singularity of awareness underneath it all.
That sounds a bit like some Eastern philosophies, doesn't it? Like everything is ultimately one.
It resonates very strongly, yes.
Yeah.
Ideas in non-dual philosophies like Advaita Vedanta, which says individual selves are just expressions of one ultimate reality. Or even things like panpsychism, the idea that consciousness isn't just humans, but maybe a fundamental thing in the universe.
So we feel separate, like we're in our own little universes. But this model suggests, deep down, we're all plugged into the same main source, like a cosmic singularity. What about information? You hear about the information paradox of black holes. Does that fit in here too?
It does, yeah, and it's a fascinating angle. The information paradox tackles the question of whether information is truly destroyed when something falls into a black hole. One idea is no, it's not destroyed. It might get stored or encoded on the event horizon itself.
Okay, so how does that apply to consciousness? Our experiences aren't just lost.
That's the parallel. The analogy suggests your individual experiences, your memories, what you learn, maybe they aren't lost when the individual self dissolves. Maybe they get encoded into that universal consciousness, preserved beyond your personal barrier. So even though we seem separate, our information contributes to a larger whole. It kind of offers a sense of unity persisting through change.
Wow. Okay, the sources then get even more specific, suggesting this isn't just a metaphor. They talk about actual parts of our bodies maybe playing a role, like biological transmitter receivers.
Yes, it pushes the analogy into biological synchronization, trying to map it onto our physical selves. It's quite speculative, of course. For instance, the pineal gland. It's often linked mystically to the third eye.
Right.
So in this framework, the pineal gland could symbolize that boundary point, where your inner awareness inside the black hole touches the universal consciousness outside. Its actual biological job, making melatonin, responding to light. Well, metaphorically, that could be seen as perceiving light or signals from that higher consciousness. It's a stretch, but that's the idea.
In our brains, our neural networks are incredibly complex. Where do they fit?
The neural network, yeah, that could be analogous to the singularity itself. The place where all your individual experiences kind of collapse into a unified field, maybe? And perhaps this is the point of connection to other consciousnesses. Theories like Penrose and Hameroff's Orchan Model about quantum stuff happening in brain microtubules creating consciousness.
Very controversial theories, those.
Extremely speculative, yes, but theoretically something like that could provide a mechanism for this kind of deep connection. And then there's the heart. Its electromagnetic field is actually the body's strongest, so maybe that represents the relational aspect. How we connect emotionally, a subtle link between individual black holes through empathy, shared feelings, a bit like how real black holes might interact gravitationally or via quantum fields over distance.
Okay, so putting it together, each of us is kind of living in our own subjective universe, our own reality bubble. But underneath, somehow, we're all still connected. You mentioned the holographic principle earlier. Does that tie in here?
It really does. And it's interesting, the sources explicitly make that connection. The holographic principle in physics basically suggests that all the info needed to describe a 3D space might actually be encoded on a 2D surface surrounding it, like a hologram. Each piece reflects the whole picture.
Right.
To apply that to consciousness.
Yeah.
Each individual's universe, your reality, built from your perceptions, memories, choices it operates on its own, it feels separate.
But the underlying connection, the unity is still there, just like the whole hologram is encoded in each part.
That's the idea. All these individual consciousnesses are still interconnected through that universal consciousness. Think of it like black holes maybe sharing information across a cosmic network, perhaps through entanglement, or maybe they exist in a multiverse. These are physics ideas being borrowed here. The event horizon of our individual consciousness creates that feeling of separation. It stops us directly experiencing the unity all the time.
Which sounds a lot like concepts like ego or Maya in the spiritual traditions, doesn't it? The illusion that separates us from oneness.
Exactly. It maps quite neatly onto those ideas. The ego, or Maya, acting as a veil over our true interconnected nature.
This has been, well, a really imaginative exploration. It's fascinating. But we have to acknowledge we're deep in speculative territory here, aren't we? What are the big challenges or limitations to keep front of mind?
Absolutely crucial point. Scientifically speaking, we need major caveats. First, the universe is a black hole idea itself. It's theory. No empirical proof exists. None. Second, linking any of that physics, even if it were proven, directly to consciousness. That's a huge leap. We're crossing from physics into metaphysics, into philosophy. There's currently zero empirical evidence that consciousness works like a black hole, or that there are biological links like the pineal gland acting as some kind of cosmic receiver.
So these are really useful as thought experiments, as analogies maybe, not as proven science?
Precisely. They are conceptual models, ways to think differently, frameworks for exploration, not scientific facts. Definitely not yet, maybe never.
And yet, even if the science is there, you mentioned the resonance with older wisdom traditions. That seems significant too.
It is significant, philosophically speaking, if you connect this to the bigger picture. Forget the scientific proof for a moment. The pattern of the idea resonates. Buddhism's interdependence, everything connected. The old Hermetic principle, as above, so below, meaning the patterns of the cosmos are mirrored in the small scale, like us. It suggests a fractal reality.
Like Indra's net.
Exactly like Indra's net. That beautiful image from Mahayana Buddhism, a net stretching infinitely, and at each knot is a jewel that perfectly reflects every other jewel in the net. Each part contains the whole. This black hole consciousness model taps into that same feeling individual, yet reflective of the universal.
And while we touched on possible mechanisms, quantum effects, brain microtubules, heart fields with distress again, these are purely speculative mechanisms at this stage. No validation.
Okay, well, this deep dive has definitely been an imaginative synthesis, hasn't it? It really pushes us to think about the biggest questions of the universe, our minds, our connection. What's fascinating, I think, is how the source material just goes for it. It dares to bridge cosmology and metaphysics. It invites us really to look for connections in places we wouldn't normally think to look.
So for you listening, as you chew on all this, what does it mean? Maybe it's just a reminder that we're always pushing boundaries, right? Outward into space and inward into ourselves. And maybe just consider this. Even if we are like these self-contained universes, apparently separate, the very idea of an event horizon means there is a boundary. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What might lie just beyond that boundary for each one of us?